We are going to tell the story of one of the preeminent businesses and manufacturers in Orillia and introduce several of the local citizens that made great contributions through their designs or modifications. In 1927, R.W. Phelps was recruited to come to Orillia by Sid Dobson, the head of the Royal Bank of Canada, to reinvigorate a company that had a large underutilized manufacturing capacity. The company was Tuttle Anderson Company, Otaco, located on West Street South. Its large smokestack was a landmark in Orillia for many decades. R.W. Phelps was an engineer by training, but was a great entrepreneur and a turnaround artist. He was an inspired marketer who had a knack for finding and surrounding himself with the best people and making success for all of them. The plant was built in 1905-1906. It was large from inception, with departments for foundry, forging, fabricating, presswork, woodworking, machining, kiln drying, assembling, and shipping. By 1940s, it had grown to 250,000 square feet, ultimately reaching 365,000 square feet in the late 1950s. R.W. learned what was needed by local farmers by talking to them. He was a big fan of the Farmer's Advocate and Home magazine and found it to be a great vehicle for advertising. Farmers came to know Otaco as a maker of fine farm implements and wagons that were guaranteed. Otaco was reincorporated as Otaco Limited in 1936, using the initials Orillia Tuttle Anderson Company. The names Taco and Otaco were used on a large variety of products made by Otaco. In addition to plows and harrows for farming, Otaco made manure spreaders, water pumping systems, wagons of all sizes including heavy haulers for logs, wheelbarrows, wood stoves, and wheels, becoming Canada's largest commercial wheel builder. R.W. and sales manager Harry Dane were on a scouting trip in the U.S. early in the 1930s when they found mechanics converting cars to tractors by replacing the back end of the vehicle. They offered to license the idea, but were given carte blanche to use the concept however they wished. They developed the product as the AutoTrac. At a time when new tractors cost $600 or more, you could buy an AutoTrac for $149. The AutoTrac pictured above is part of the collection of historical artifacts maintained for the city of Orillia by the Orillia Heritage Center. This picture shows an Otaco delivery truck on its way to an early plowing match with an AutoTrac on board. R.W. was never one to pass up a good advertising opportunity. The AutoTrac worked with just about any car of the time. It was a great success, with sales all over Ontario and throughout eastern Canada. R.W. Phelps had purchased Otaco from Sid Dobson and the Royal Bank in 1937. At the outset of World War II, R.W. and Dobson approached C.D. Howe, offering manufacturing capacity and expertise in return for wartime contracts. C.D. Howe visited Orillia to inspect the plant, but it was obvious to him the plant was mostly equipped with outdated equipment and would need government funding to contribute to the war effort. A demonstration of innovations made by Otaco tool and die maker Ernie Sundquist, which alleviated the need for hammer press during certain types of fabrication, ended up convincing the government to award wartime contracts to Otaco. Pictured on the right picture from left to right was C.D. Howe, Glenn Phelps, and R.W. Phelps. Otaco was initially awarded contracts to produce wheels and tailwheel assemblies for the Mosquito bomber. Later, they also produced canopies, when other companies assigned the work failed to deliver. Wartime was a period of rapid expansion for Otaco. The workforce grew from 200 to 1,600 people. Herbie Gibson, who was a local legend for his welding skills, was enticed to move to Orillia on the promise that he could fish and work in the same town. At Otaco, he taught people how to weld airplane materials, which often included soft metals. One of the great successes was the cafeteria that fed about 1,200 meals per day thanks to the effort of Maida Norell. She proposed, created, and managed what came to be known as the best place for lunch in town. The genesis of mini toys dates back to just before the end of the war. Glenn Phelps, GW, joined Otaco in 1940 and served as aircraft manager. GW had gone to school with Doug Seville, and both had obtained engineering degrees from the University of Michigan. It was their idea to convert the scraps of metal left over from airplane part stampings into toys. The first toy made was a shovel and crane numbered MT1. In the fall of 1945, they were making 500 a day to meet the demand for Christmas. For the next 20 years, Otaco continued to design and manufacture over 50 different metal toys, but its first toy, the MT1, continued to be one of its most popular sellers. In the left picture, Doug Saville's son Harold. Mini toy production became more of a priority for Otaco after the war ended. The workforce dropped from 1,600 down to 600 people. The diversity of toys increased. Many variations of the toys were made, which copied the trucks, machines, and household items of the times, such as ironing machines and electric mixers. Each toy came with a booklet outlining future toys and a subscription to a quarterly newsletter. With the refinement in plastic toys during the late 1950s and early 60s, Otaco found it difficult to compete, and so ended the mini toy production line. The Orillia Heritage Center maintains a collection of mini toys as historical artifacts on behalf of the city of Orillia. Ductile iron is a type of cast iron invented in 1943. While most varieties of cast iron are brittle, ductile iron has a much more impact and fatigue resistance, with properties more akin to steel. In 1948, Otaco became the first Canadian company to receive a license from International Nickel to produce this new metal. Otaco used the trade name Ductalloy for its ductile iron, and began producing ductalloy castings for other companies, as well as for its own products, including the gold-tip plowshare. Expertise with ductile iron helped Otaco secure contracts from Philadelphia to provide train brakes and undercarriages, called bogies. The railways needed parts that functioned in extreme weather conditions without fracturing. The U.S. Navy embarked on what became a series of missions known as Operation Deep Freeze to go to Antarctica in 1955 and 56. Seeking to exploit expertise gained while building undercarriages for the railroads, the U.S. Navy worked with Otaco to develop sleds that could carry 40-ton loads across the ice from ships to the various base camps that had been planned for the operation. Des Messenger became Otaco's expert on Arctic sleds. Des received education in engineering and worked for a number of aviation companies in England, including de Havilland, before coming to Canada in 1947, where he worked with Toronto Engine Works at Leaside. He joined Otaco in 1951. By 1961, he was chief engineer. Des spent the summer of 1957 in Antarctica researching the conditions that sleds would operate in. The snow and ice in Antarctica does not provide as slippery a surface as what we're used to in Orillia. The final design for the deep freeze sled is outlined in the specification sheet pictured here, where it is presented as just another one of Otaco's many products after the mission had been completed. Key features of the design included use of ductalloy parts for superior abrasion resistance, and a design for runners and skis that kept ground pressure to less than 4 pounds per square inch with a load of 40 tons. The picture in the middle shows an Otaco sled in service in Antarctica, being loaded with gasoline-filled drum via a crane. In addition to the sleds, Otaco manufactured wanigans to the U.S. Navy specifications, providing portable housing suitable for use in extreme conditions. The caption for this picture is David and Goliath. It shows 2 Otaco sleds, the toy one on the left and the deep freeze giant on the right. The letter on the left, dated 14 February 1958, is from the Secretary of the U.S. Navy, addressed to R.W. Phelps, informing him that Otaco Limited has been awarded the Navy Certificate of Merit for its outstanding contributions to the Department of Navy in the fields of development and manufacturing for Operation Deep Freeze 1. The letter in part reads, "This is one of the highest honors which the U.S. Navy can grant, and on this occasion I wish to express personally the Navy's deep appreciation of the unselfish interest and service which you and your company have so generously extended to our naval establishment. In the broad scope of relations between our two countries, it is such efforts, often unnoticed, which serve to nurture mutual friendliness and respect." Pictured at right is R.W. Phelps receiving the award from Jim Douglas, commanding officer of the project for the U.S. Navy. Otaco was only the second company outside the U.S. to receive this award. The other recipient was de Havilland. Otaco was purchased by R.M. Barr in 1961 and became part of Bartaco Industries. The company continued to search for ways to exploit their manufacturing capabilities during the 60s and 70s. In the early 60s, they introduced boat building kits. They also designed and manufactured a successful line of boat trailers. Hugh Thompson was well known in the region as a master carpenter, carver, boat builder, machinist, and much more. He was the original designer of the Bazoo, a six-wheeled amphibious craft. Images here from the website 6x6world.com. Otaco bought the rights for the Bazoo from Hugh in the late 60s and began a marketing and distribution campaign. In the 1970s, photos like these of Hugh were used in the advertising, not just another pretty face. Here we see a Bazoo being used for ecological purposes on the English coast, exported no less. Sales were widespread, but numbers eventually dropped off. Michigan-based American Seating purchased Otaco in 1985 and began producing seating products for buses and rail-based services. The company moved to Harvey Settlement Road in 1990 and operated as Otaco Seating. Operations were finally wound up in 2007. Otaco embodied much of what made Orillia a great place to do business, and the quality and ingenuity of the great workers here. Perhaps our new world will make it practical and popular to support local work and workers once again.